Hello everyone, hope you're all well. Welcome back to the channel. So a slightly different video this week. This is a PlayStation 5 which we purchased from one of our customers. So if you have a faulty PS5, a faulty PS4 or an Xbox, we can actually buy it from you. So if you would like a quote on how much we will buy your faulty console from you, visit consoletherapy.com, enter in a few details, and we will get back to you within 24 hours with an offer price to buy your faulty PS5 or any other console as well. We also arrange collection from any UK address, and that's all included in the price. So collection will be next day, and payments are made as soon as we receive the console, usually within 24 hours. So as I say, this one is one we purchased. Now, what we know about this one is there's no HDMI port, there's no USB port, so it certainly has been worked on before, and as you can see, it obviously has been opened before. So what we're going to do is try and get this one working again. So let's get into it.
For your Xbox and PlayStation repairs, visit consoletherapy.com.
Right, so first things first, let's open this up and see what we have got. Now, obviously it's been opened already, so we know that's quite a few screws missing. So let's start opening it up. The actual side fin is missing as well. Not a problem. Let's go through and just open everything up. What I probably will do is just fast forward this bit, because you've all seen me open PlayStations before, so I'll fast forward through this bit. Right, so there we are. Obviously, I didn't switch on the PS5 before taking it apart because I didn't know if there's any screws rustling around. So I wanted to be on the safe side. Now, looking at this, there's been quite a lot of work done to the board. So as I say, obviously the HDMI port is missing. There's a USB port which is missing as well. And then I've noticed someone has customized the actual USB, the front USB ribbon cable connector as well. So that's an interesting one. We can certainly have a look at that. We can probably replace that as well. So what I think I'll do first of all is just make sure there's no bridges along here and actually just see if we get booting up to a white light at all. Look at this, we probably won't, but it's worth a try. So let's just bring back in the power supply. Oh, it's just the chassis. It doesn't look to be any bridges there, right? So let's just quickly just pop this on, give it a bit of power and see if we get any lights whatsoever. Oh, we do get a blue light. And it is staying on as well. See if it actually gets to a white light, shall we? No. So blue light and then off after about, what was that? About 10 seconds. So, what we're going to do is get under the microscope and just have a bit more of a look to see what's going on. Right, here we are under the microscope. So this is the connector for the front USB port. There's a ribbon cable that runs off that. This is obviously the wrong connector. So whoever's worked on this PS5 before has obviously not been able to source the correct connector and added this one, right? And to be fair, that would work, right? I think there's a few bridges there, right? So that might explain our 10-second blue light. So it does look to be a few bridges there, but it probably did work for a while. So what we will do, we'll remove that, and then looking at, where are we? HDMI port. A couple of pads missing. They're not a problem. We can fix those. And then across here with the missing rear USB port, that looks like that's kind of been snapped off a little bit, right? Because the pins are still in the motherboard. But again, not too much of a problem. We can remove all those and pop in a new USB port. So what I think we'll do is we'll do those three things, right, and then see if it actually powers up to a white light. It might not, right, and if not, we can then start diagnosing why not. But let's kind of fix, if you like, the basics first of all, right? Let's get these bits correct. All right, so we are going to come in with some nice flux. And then we are going to flood the whole area with some leaded solder as well. See, some of the pins are starting to come out already, which is great. So we're going to come in with the heat gun, just to give the area a nice warm up. Right, and as you can see, obviously you need to clean up, right, but all of the pins, holes in the motherboard are now free. Come back and clean that up in a minute. So let's take a look at the HDMI port. Again, put on a load of flux. Come in with our leaded solder. And then we are going to gently wick that away because I want to have a proper look at it to see exactly what's missing. You have to be gentle because these pads are very delicate. All right, let's clean the area up so we can actually see what's going on. Try and get you in focus as well. Now I'm being really gentle here because I don't want to damage the pads even further. But there is a lot of flux from previous. Right, so now we can actually see what we've got. So, 19 is missing, but we can easily run a jumper wire to resolve that one. 18, 17 are there, capacitors missing, 16, 54. So this pad here, so we've only got 2 pads missing, right? And then we can run a jumper from that via to there. So that is not going to be much of an issue. Do need to get the capacitor back on though. All right, so while we're in the mode of removing stuff, what I think we'll do is obviously take this incorrect connector off as well and see what we've got. So what I'm going to do, as before, I don't care if I damage this connector because it's the wrong one anyhow. So I'm going to stick a load of flux along there. We're going to come in with our leaded solder. And once again, flood the area with solder all the way along. And then we'll come in with our heat gun. Again, I'm not bothered about this connector because it's the wrong one, so I'm going to destroy it. Come in with a little bit more leaded solder. And wick away to clear up the area to see what we've got again. Give the area a clean up. Again, being careful of the pads, nice and gentle. I think that is salvageable. So all of these pads, this end, they're all on the same, they're all connected, right? So they're all on the same connection on the motherboard. So it doesn't matter that these are all joined, which is fine. This one looks okay, these look okay. That one looks okay, just need to check there's continuity running between those areas there. There looks like a ground though, to be honest, so that's good. And again, I believe all of this end is connected, looks like it's on the same plane. So that all looks fine. So that's probably salvageable, right, as well. Right, so let's start with the USB port first of all. Let's get that back in place. Now, as I said, that capacitor's missing, right? So there's a tiny little capacitor which sits just there where I've just put the flux. What that capacitor does, it's basically a filter capacitor, right, which just smooths out any signals between the pin 18 and 17, right? Now, Do you need that capacitor? Strictly no, right? You don't. The PS5 will function without it. Should you replace the capacitor? Yes, you should, right? It's there for a reason. So, you know, you should always replace the capacitor once you've removed it. It is tiny, and this one's just falling out just there. So, tiny little cap. So it is fiddly, so I like to do this bit first, right? Just going to spin the board around a little bit. Get a fine tip soldering iron. And we are just going to come in, grab the cap, and then just dab a tiny bit of solder there to hold it in place, like so. So it's one side connected. We're going to come in with our heat gun. We're going to drop down the airflow very low to around 25%, and we're just going to come in, just warm up the area and get the capacitor to do its little dance and then pull itself into place. Now, apologies if you can't see this very well. It'll get to a certain temperature. The solder will start to melt. And the capacitor will jump into place for me. Like so. Right, it's not going to be perfect because the pads are pretty much destroyed around the area, but it is connected. Right, so I just straightened the cap up a little bit because it was annoying me. So I got a bit closer with my microscope and I could see a bit better. So pad-wise, we are missing 19 and this one here. This pad joins to this via here. So what we're going to do is just expose a little bit more of the copper on both of these, because what we're going to need to do is attach a jumper wire to the pins. Should be enough. You can use a Stanley blade to do that as well if you like. Right. So we will just quickly come in with a red of flux to both of these, so we can tin them. Fine tip soldering iron and our solder, and we are just literally going to just tin these wires because we're going to use them for anchor point for our jumper wire. So just spin it around, grab our jumper wire, going to solder this end first of all. We are going to route it, right, following as close as possible to the trace, like so. Grab our blade, and cut it about there. For the other pad, same process. Come along, attach it there, just make sure that's nice and secure. Good. And again, following where the original trace would have been, or track. making sure it's not touching anything else. Come along and cut to the other end. Okay, that works as well. We'll just fold it over. And same with that one. Making sure it's not touching anything else. Perfect. So then come in with your new HDMI port, aligns, so just drop it into place for now. Making sure that's all good. Yep, all aligns. And then what we're going to do, a little bit of flux, and just tin up these pads. Don't worry about your jumper wires yet, because we're going to come in and do those in a minute. So all I want to do is just tin up these pads individually. I'm purposely skipping the ones with the jumper wires on. Add a little bit more flux, remove those bridges. Good. Now what we're going to do, grab our HDMI port, pop it into place, push on the back, so where the legs are pushing down, and then we're just going to come along and start tacking them. As obviously this is quite a weak area, we need to be careful of any bridges and breaking any more traces. So I'm literally just touching each leg as I go, one by one, nice and gently. I'm skipping over the pads with the jumper wires. Then what I'm going to do is get just a little bit of solder on the tip of the soldering iron, and then where we've got our jumper wire, we're just going to touch it just very gently. So don't forget the jumper wire is running underneath already. That's good. The same for the other end, pin 19. I'm going to flip the board over, and then we are going to solder these legs in place to secure the port. Through the motherboard, solder. We'll come back later and clear everything up. And then let's just clear this side up with a bit of IPA now, and then we can just quickly check those connections. Right. Yes, a little bit of flux to the right hand side there, but all in all, looks quite good. Let's just quickly check the pins to make sure they are solid. So we go along one by one. Yep, yep, yep. Obviously this one's going to move because it's got the jumper wire. And then pin 19 will move because it's got the jumper wire. Good, right, I'll finish clearing this up and I'll add a little bit of solder to those legs as well. And then we can move on to the USB port. Right, there we go. With the solder mask, or PCB mask, I will add extra solder to those legs in a moment. As you can see, it looks a little bit messy, but to be fair, you saw it all before, how messy it was before all these scratches along the PCB. Can't do much about those, but it's functional, right? So let's move on to the USB port replacement. So I've got a brand new one, all right? First of all, let's just clean this area up a little bit. So let's get our IPA, give it a bit of a clean up. Right, so coming with USB ports, these are brand new USB ports. I do sell these on the website, so they are available from shop.consoletherapy.com. Really easy, pops into place. Flip the motherboard over, and then let's get you into focus again. And then all I'm going to do, come in with some flux on the diagonal opposite legs, just hold it into place. Get some solder on my soldering iron, and then we are literally just going to solder that one in place to hold it for now. I'm pushing up with my finger from underneath. Get that one in place. Right, which just holds it in place for us. And then we will come along and then solder in the rest of the pins. Right, really straightforward. It's nice and secure. Brilliant. Now, final part is the connector for the front USB ports. So before re-adding the connector, I did just check on a donor board quickly, and obviously there are filters, these two, but there's also a filter that needs to go at this end as well, so I'll just quickly tin those pads. It's probably easier if we put the filters on now, because we're going to have to use the heat gun. So what we will do is just drop our airflow on the heat gun all the way down to 20%, and then we're going to come in with each filter. Now these are incredibly tiny, so they are quite fiddly to actually get soldered on. Just want to check it's around the right way. Yep, that's good. Okay, perfect. So we will grab one, come in with a heat gun, get the pads warmed up. We're just going to drop the filters in place. Good. Okay, so there's the filters in place. We will check them quickly for continuity, so they should buzz from top to bottom, or you should hear a beep from top to bottom, but not left to right. So let's test the first one. Meters in continuity mode. Yep, beep. Yep, no crosstalk. Good. 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 No crosstalk. Good. Good. No crosstalk. Right, so now we need to get the connector on. I have taken one off of a donor board and pre-tinned the pins. Easiest way to do this is from the other side, heating from the other side of the board. Right, so I'm going to spin the board round. Okay, and then it's hanging over the end of the workbench. Right, so we're going to come on with the heat from underneath. Sorry about the angle, but I need to kind of get there somehow. Right, now what I'm going to do is going to come in with the heat gun without the connector first of all. We're going to heat up the area. Right, so my heat gun is just underneath the board. And then what you'll see is the solder will start to melt, like so. Right, and then we're going to come in with our connector. We're going to just remove the heat for a second. The board is now nice and warm. Come in with our connector and then just pop it roughly into place. Like so. And then come back in with the heat. And then the connector will pull itself into place. Once you give it enough heat for the solder to melt again. There it goes. Right, just give it a little bit of a nudge this side. There we go. Pops into place. Tiny little nudge that way. Remove your heat. And let's have a look at the alignment. That looks pretty well aligned to me. Yep. So let's spin the board back round. And then let's give the board a few seconds to cool down. And then what we will do is check the pins to make sure they are soldered and solid. So let's just come in with our probe. The board's still quite hot. Right, so first two are bridged. Don't care about that because they are all on the same pad. Next view, all solid. All solid as we go along. Yep, good, good, good. And then these last two, again, bridged, but say all on the same pad, so it does not matter. Good, right, now what is left to do is give the whole area a very good cleanup, right, because we've used so much flux. So we're going to give the board a whole cleanup. I'll do that off camera and then get back to you in a minute. Right, so there we go, just temporarily put back together for testing. 3, 2, 1. There we go, get blue light. Do we get any video output? Let's see. Yes, we do. There we go, video output as well. One thing I will do quickly is just connect up a USB stick to the front port just to make sure that's working. So let's pop that in. Then let's go along to our settings to see if we have that visible now. Extended storage. Yep, there you go. Look at that. Kingston. So we know the front USB port's working, and then if we unplug it, it should disappear, and it does disappear. Perfect. Right, now to get this all put back together again properly. So there we go, everything put back together, and one working PlayStation. Does still need a bit of a cleanup on the outside, so I'll do that later. But thanks very much for watching. So hope you enjoyed that video. If you do have a faulty PlayStation, Xbox that you would like to sell, then please get in touch with us at Console Therapy. We do, as I said earlier, purchase faulty consoles. We make payments the next day as soon as we receive the actual faulty console, and we arrange the collections too. So please get in touch if you've got a faulty console and you are thinking about selling it. So I hope that video was useful, shows you how to kind of rebuild the HDMI port, USB, and the connector for the front USB socket on the motherboard. If you did enjoy the video and you found it useful, please consider giving us a thumbs up. That really does help us out very much. As I say, thanks very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye for now.